There's a new punk-inspired indie thriller titled Violence, set to make its premiere this weekend at Brooklyn's Horror Film Fest, and we had an opportunity to speak with the director, Connor Marsden. He spoke with us about punk, cinema, and chaos, and working with Rohan Campbell, and so much more. And here's what he had to say. Check it out. Connor, like it's an honor to talk to you anyways. First of all, brilliant work, beautiful film. That was the first thing I noticed off rip. So I want to talk about, this being like the first premiere, festival. It's premiering for everyone. Talk about that journey and how you got to this point and why this had to be your first feature.
Yeah. Well, so, this movie is really taken, over a decade to happen. I came up with this thing in film school when I was 21. I'm 36 now. So, the path of an independent film from, the writing stage to actually getting to a place where I get to now premiere the movie is taken 15 years. My writing partner, Devin Myler, and I, we really started working on this thing, like so long ago, but now that we're here, we couldn't be more excited. And, I'm so pumped, but yeah, it's been a real journey.
And I know, and you say like it's independently driven. Like we know that journey, that road alone is not easy. What was like one of the biggest obstacles? You said it was a 10-year journey. What was one of the major obstacles that made it, I'd say, take that long, or even during the process?
You know what it is? It's like, it really is, we had many drafts of this screenplay, but it really is. It's like, movies require a lot of things. They require money and they require people. So, when we came up with it in film school, it's like, we had our pals that we made stuff with there, but you've watched the movie, it required so much more than that. So it was really just, the years of working in the industry and meeting people and sort of really building relationships so we could get to a point where, we could actually do this thing and have the sort of resources that we required. And so really it was just about, just gathering, those connections and those resources and meeting those right people.
Yeah. And just to let everyone out there know, we're talking about your new film, Violence, and it is violent. And I want to talk about the tone, influences. When I watch it, it brings me back to the era that you're trying to portray, which is like the 80s. A film called Streets of Fire. I'm not sure if that is exactly where it put me, man. Talk about that influence and the punk journey. Is that something that you've always been a fan of? Like, how did we get to that?
Well, honestly, dude, you're the first person that's like actually called out the Streets of Fire by name. And that makes me so happy because yes, obviously that is, a massive influence on this movie, Streets of Fire, as well as Walter Hill's The Warriors. And it's funny because, like I said, the movie took so long to make. And when I first came up with it, 10, 15 years ago, the influences were more like, it was like Guy Ritchie and Snatch and Quentin Tarantino, and really these more like kind of contemporary, more, modern filmmakers and films. And it was really like, as we were working on the script, it was like, the movie kind of started to take a different shape as I got older, as my influences, started to sort of change. It was, I remember this moment because, in Violence, we created a whole world. Really, it's a world building movie. And, I remember the moment where, originally the movie took place in a contemporary setting. Like I live in Toronto, so it just took place, in 2015 in Toronto, right? So but as I was writing it, and to your point about the punk thing, I was like, there's so much kind of explaining to do about why is everyone a punk if the movie takes place right now. And I remember having this sort of breakthrough moment with it where I wrote the phrase down, we're back in the 80s. Like, you know, it was just like on page 1, I just wrote, we're back in the 80s. And the whole movie just kind of, you know, fell into place from there. And then from there, I didn't even really know. I loved the Warriors when I first came up with this thing.
Oh yeah,
But
classic.
I didn't really know Streets of Fire. It was when
Wow.
I was like typing in on Google movies like the, you know, and
Yeah,
all of a
yeah.
sudden Streets of Fire was there. And I'm talking, this is like, you know, 12 years ago or something. Like
Yeah.
the Streets of Fire is there. And I remember looking to my writing partner, Devin, and I was like, dude, I think this movie's already been made. Like, I think this idea that we're having, like, not only has it already been made, but it's made by the guy who made the fucking Warriors. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, immediately we got that film, and you know, I became obsessed with it immediately because it reminded me so much of violence.
Yeah.
And then through that kind of thing, I was like, well, this isn't something to be ashamed of at all. And even though I didn't know that this movie existed, now I do, and now I'm going to start stealing from it. And you know, so it became such a bigger reference point for me. And then with my cinematographer, Vincent Perron, who shot this incredible movie last year called Red Rooms. This really he's a French Canadian. He's a genius. Like, it's really incredible, sort of Fincher-esque, almost like thriller horror movie. He's like comes from the art world. Like he's this really, you know, beautiful person and incredible artist. Him and I got onto a call, and in that call, we had never met before. He lives in Montreal. I live in Toronto, and we just he had read the script, and much like yourself, the first thing he said was like, it reminds me of Streets of Fire. And so then we just started, you know, riffing on that. And from Streets of Fire and the Warriors, you know, we were going to John Carpenter, and we were, you know, we were just kind of going down that alley. And Vincent really was like, you know, he was like, okay, well, if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna reference this, then we should really just go all in and light it like they would have lit it in the 80s. Like, let's use those, like, you know, let's use hard lights, and the moonlight can be blue. And like, do you know what I mean? Like, really, like let's lean into that thing. And what I hope, the goal is that what we did was not, it feels like a throwback, but really it just feels like a movie that you missed. And then on top of that, like, it feels like a movie you missed. Hopefully it doesn't feel like pastiche or like, you know, kitschy. I wanted it to, you know, still have a modern sensibility about it as well. So it's not just for, you know, the old heads that are like, oh, I love that stuff. It's still for, you know, a really contemporary audience that, you know, has no idea what that stuff is. And just like with the music, to me, this movie I want it to be a gateway. I want it to be a gateway to, you know, filmmakers like Walter Hill and Catherine Bigelow and John Carpenter, but also I want it to be a gateway to, you know, punk music. And in a way that's like it's not turning up its nose if you're not familiar with that stuff. It's actually inviting you in. So I hope that answers your question.
You listen, not only did you answer my question, but you guys definitely pulled it off. Everything that you just said, what you're hoping, is what I feel watching this film. It has the retro grit with a modern, like, watching it, I don't feel like it's old. It just gives me a nod to what I remember.
Cool.
The score, that music that you have playing throughout. Like, it literally puts me there while I feel like I'm watching something relevant. So
Cool.
hats off to you guys for that, because you nail it. You nail it in that.
Oh, thanks.
We have to talk about the elephant in the room. I feel like you're winning the lottery right now with the cast. Man, what time Rohan Campbell is in this?
I know. He's my favorite actor. This is the thing. He's my favorite actor.
And he's on a run right now. Like, I mean, we got a little bit of him in Halloween Ends. Now he's about to do the Silent Night, Deadly Night. And now he's in Violence. Talk about when you said it's been a very long time since this thing was being created,
Yeah.
what does that feel like to know that you got like one of the top horror guys right now?
Yeah. Well, you know, when I was when we were casting this movie up,
Yeah.
you know, Rowan had really only done Halloween Ends. Like he'd done his TV show, The Hardy Boys, and then he had done Halloween Ends. And you know, I've been saying this to other people, but it's like, you know, some people love James Bond, some people love Star Wars. I love Halloween. And that's that's my movie franchise. So when Halloween Ends was coming out, I went to the first screening on opening day alone, and because I was so excited, and I sat there, and we were in development on Violence, but it was still a long ways away from actually being made. I sat there, and Halloween Ends started, and I don't know if you remember this, but they actually kind of hid Rowan's character in the marketing. They didn't really, you didn't really know what
you had no idea.
You had no idea, right? So I sat down expecting one thing, and then all of a sudden this movie starts, and this character, right from the first sequence of the movie, this Rohan Campbell as Corey Cunningham is there, and I was so immediately locked in. I know people are weird about that movie, but for me, I was so locked in to that film and to Rowan specifically. And I just remember watching that whole movie and like really being blown away and walking out of it. And I texted someone, maybe it was like my sister or something. And I was like, I have just found Henry Violence. And, that's just like, as a fan being like, I'm so like, I found like this dude would be perfect if it was possible to get him, because for years I was like, man, like, there was a kind of an era a few years ago where there wasn't a lot of young guys that didn't kind of just have like a very sort of CW look. And I say that from a place of love. All those actors are incredible and extremely talented, but for Henry, as you've seen the movie, it's like there needed to be some grit. He needed to be a guy, he needed to be like someone that you looked at and were like, he could be punched, and he could be, he could sort of be beat up and he would still get back up, So seeing Halloween Ends, that was the thing that like really made me like fall in love with Rowan, really. And then luckily, because Rowan's actually Canadian, and this is a proudly Canadian film, as we were getting sort of deeper into the process of actually really casting this thing up, I just like, he was number one on the list, and I was like, what do we think? Like, do we think it's even possible? And it just so happened that one of my producers on one of the lists that he got from the agencies, Rowan's name was right there. And so kind of like the conversation that you and I are having right now, I got on a call with Rowan. I told him about how much I love Halloween and how much I loved him in Halloween Ends. And, he read the script and he really responded to it. He thought it was cool. And we had a conversation, and he was in, like, he was down. And truly, but sort of by the skin of our teeth, like we would have, like right now it'd be an impossible task, right? Like, but no, I feel so lucky that, and also just, he's an incredible person, and he's been such a huge supporter of this film. And he took a real risk doing a movie with a first-time filmmaker. He really believed in me when he didn't have to. I mean, he just had done a David Gordon Green movie, right? That, Halloween made hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office. And then here he is coming to do, first-time filmmaker in Toronto, Canada's first movie, so, but he was amazing. And the entire cast was amazing. We got Maddie Hassan from Malignant, who's also having a moment right now with Bone Lake. And she's amazing. She was the first person that ever attached themselves to this project.
Wow.
I met with her a few years ago, again, just because I was a fan of a movie she did called We Summon the Darkness. There's
Okay.
this like really kind of cool, like, you know, just like little kind of horror movie. But she's like so funny in it. And just she was just kind of scary in it, like unhinged. And
Yeah.
I thought she was so cool. And actually I put her in my head in the list for Charlotte. But originally I thought, oh, maybe Maddie could play Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then when I actually got to have a call with her, she was the person that said, listen, I'll play Charlotte in the movie, but I really want to play Charlie Rocket. Originally, I wasn't thinking about it like that. I was kind of
Yeah.
thinking about it in a more obvious sense
She
of like,
brings it.
yeah, and yeah, and she brings it, and honestly, I can't imagine anyone else being Charlie
Yeah.
Rocket other than
Yeah.
her. I feel like she brings like just a different energy
Yeah.
to the movie, right? Like,
Yeah.
but the cast is amazing. I just feel like I'm like blown away every day that, you know, those are the people in my movie, really.
Yeah. It really elevates everything that's going on with you. I we have to talk about the score, the music, Nowhere to Run.
Yeah.
Whose idea to bring these gentlemen in?
Yeah.
Because they are bringing this thing to life. Like
Yeah.
it's a character of its own. The music and this, even the concerts, everything.
For sure.
Was that always part of the plan to make music just a big part of this?
Yeah, yeah. Like, you know, the movie was really born out of my love for punk and hardcore. You know,
Yeah.
like I really wanted, you know, I feel like there's a sort of in movies, you know, movie punks are always just like, you know, they can be cool, but they're
Yeah.
also like frequently really annoying or the butt of the joke, or, you know, there's just like there's not a lot of movies that are centered around punks that allow like for some cinema. You know, like it's always kind of like
Mm-hmm.
they're always like side characters, or it's like really, really gritty, like on a street level way where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's almost like documentary feeling. You know, a few years ago you got Green Room, and that's an amazing movie. But again, it's like doing its
Mm-hmm.
own thing. It's not really kind of, it's not about the music. Actually, in the one scene in that movie where there is a punk band that plays, it's like
Yeah.
2 seconds of punk music, and then we go right into like, you know, more sort of serene score.
Yeah.
I really, really wanted to bring this kind of like heavy, aggressive music into a movie in a way that like people, you know, maybe hadn't experienced, you know, like maybe like, and make it cinematic, because punk music and hardcore, it's not necessarily like really like cinematic music. It's so fast. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of the songs are really short. It's not like you're not watching the sunset listening to a Dead Kennedys song crying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but you know, so really the goal with it was to bring punk music and try to add some cinema to it. But to answer your question, actually,
Yeah.
Nowhere to Run, it was our members of a band called Code Orange.
Yep.
Actually wearing a Code Orange tee right now.
I see. Yeah.
So they are one of my favorite bands. And while I was writing the movie, I was always listening to Code Orange, and you know, more than just music, like just they're so inspiring to me from like an aesthetic perspective, a visual. All of their music videos are incredible. And you know, I was just super into that band, and I would read and listen to interviews with the singer of that band, this guy named Jamie Morgan. And in all these podcasts and all these interviews, he would always mention, you know, just like kind of offhandedly, it was like, oh, like we would love to score a movie or like, you know, score video games or whatever. And, you know, this is me in my bedroom, like, you know, just again, like this movie's not real. It's just like, it's me like hoping that, you know, and working away, hoping that I'll get to make this film. And so when it came time, you know, 3 years before this movie actually got made, I DM'd Jamie on Instagram and I said, hey, dude, I'm making this movie. It's called Violence. I think you should score it. I think Code Orange should score the movie. Yeah. And he immediately responded, DM'd me right back, and was basically like, yeah, cool. Like, send me the script. I sent him the script, didn't hear anything from him for 3 years.
Oh
two,
man.
2 weeks, like no, like left me on red for 3 years. 2 weeks before we go to start pre-production for real. We've got the money, we've done, we're making this movie. I DM him again and I say, yo, dude, this movie is real. I'm like really going to make this movie in like a couple of weeks. I want you to score it. I want you to write original songs. I want you to write an original score, and I want you to be in the movie. I want you to be the band in the movie. So the band in the movie is actually them.
Yep.
And he responded. And he responded, he's like, this, maybe it's meant to be, but like the timing of this couldn't be more perfect. The band Code Orange, we're on hiatus. We have a new project, Nowhere to Run. And tomorrow we're in Los Angeles going to talk to scoring agents about Nowhere to Run being film, like, starting this sort of film composing journey. So, they Nowhere to Run as a group now. They are a band. They're dropping their first single literally tomorrow. A music video that I produced with them and helped them make comes out this weekend. I think tomorrow as well. And yeah, they spent a year and a half making all of this music for the movie. So every song you hear in the flick, that's all them. And then all of the score, that John Carpenter, like weird, like really, and sometimes extremely beautiful score that you hear, that's all Nowhere to Run. That's Jamie Morgan and Shade, absolute legends. They also, I have to admit this is an exclusive for you. They created the title card that you see in the movie. They didn't create the logo, but the actual title card you see that comes on and it blows away with the powder. When I was editing the movie, they were making music for it, and they were like, and I kept on sending them like chunks of the film. And they would watch the opening. They're like, you need a title card, man. They're like, we cannot watch this anymore without a title card. So they, in their kitchen, just like filmed, made this title card. And now it's, in a movie that's going to play at the Brooklyn Horror Fest on October 19th. It's like so cool. It's like, it's so amazing.
Man, listen, this is there, because we're talking about the music, I got to ask this. Any physical album soundtrack coming out?
Yeah. So yes, there are definitely plans for something like that. Whether that is, I mean, we will definitely press a vinyl of this, the score and the songs. When that will happen, it's hard for me to say, but that is like 100%. If there is no vinyl record of this film score and these songs, I will not rest until there is. So I promise.
It needs to be, man. It needs to be.
I totally agree. I love it.
Yeah. So the festival, it's kicking off this today actually, and it's going all the way to the 25th. The Brooklyn Horror Film Festival. Your film, it's premiering on Sunday the 19th. Am I right?
Sunday, Sunday, October 19th. Yeah.
Yeah, at 9:45. What are you hoping that the fans? This will be my last question before I let you out of here. What are you hoping the fans are going to take away from the screening, or for first-time viewers?
Yeah, dude. Well, like this thing has taken so long. Like my one dream in life has been to make movies, right? So like it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do since I was the smallest child. So like this moment, getting to actually like premiere a movie that I've made, it not only premiere a movie, but in New York City, in Brooklyn, in like, this is like, this is a place that has been so inspiring. I mean, that's where The Warriors takes place is from the Bronx to Brooklyn. Right? Like, so to be able to play this movie for a New York audience at the Brooklyn Horror Fest, it's like, it's beyond a dream come true. And really like, it doesn't, I mean, obviously, of course, I hope people love it. I hope at least one person loves it. But really more than anything, like I just, for me, I'm just like, I'm so excited, and like it's really mind blowing. So really, I can't wait for this thing to be other people's, and like hopefully, start like a little, club of violence, a violence club,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, man, that's and hopefully I'll get to do it again.
You all make sure you're checking out Brooklyn's Horror Film Fest this whole week, starting October 16th to October 25th, and be sure to check out the premiere of Violence on Sunday, October 19th.